Hello guys, welcome back. We're going to do another r/ask Reddit here of StoryBard. And today we're finding out who is the most evil person you have ever met in your entire life. If you're new here, thanks for coming. And basically we just go over Reddit stories and then I kind of give a brief opinion on how I feel about that particular story. All right, let's begin. Story 1. Fortunately, he was also stupid. Danny, the dispatcher at my former taxi job, he thrived on conflict and loved creating hardship for both drivers and customers alike. I watched him deliberately send a taxi late because the woman emphasized how she couldn't be late to her doctor's appointment. He hung up and sort of chuckled and said, "Well, she's definitely going to be late now." Yeah. He shorted me work and joked that he just wanted to see how long it would take me to go to jail for being behind on child support payments. As he was dying of cancer, I was so tempted to send his cancer a get well card for having Danny. I don't know what crack people are smoking these days, especially considering in this economy, but I'm sorry. I hate spiteful people at work, envious people. If you're trying to, mess up someone's money or someone's bag, you're a bad person. You deserve to see service. You need to go to church, not Sunday, not Monday, not Wednesday, every hour of the week, every day of the week. You need to go to church. Story 2. Guy I used to know ended up going to jail for beating and SAing his girlfriend and her daughter over the course of a couple years. I was never really good friends with him, but I would see him around town as a teenager and we would say, "What's up?" and whatever. Apparently, it was really bad. I hadn't spoken to him in many years at this point, but he would beat up his girlfriend and force his girlfriend's daughter who's under eight, just to get drunk, leading to physical and SA and abuse. Well, one day the girlfriend went to a repair shop to get an oil change or something, and one of the employees saw the bruises on her, and this absolute Chad of a guy called the cops. She told the cops everything. He's been in jail ever since. Yeah, and I've been trying to find his sentencing for years, but I had no luck. This was like 4 years ago, so his trial must have happened by now. I guess it wasn't reported on, and I had no idea what I'm doing trying to navigate the government pages. I hope I I hope he spends decades behind bars at minimum. I actually got into a fight with this guy when I was like 12. He was 3 or 4 years older than me, so yeah, I didn't really have a chance. But I knew I never liked him. After that, when I was a teenager, I would see him around town and we were chill with each other, but never really friends. His whole family was out there. His brother died getting mag dumped by the police when he pointed a fake gun at them while he was fleeing from an arrest warrant. And never met his parents, but I'm assuming they were pretty terrible parents considering how the two of them ended up. My personal opinion, I hate garbage people having platforms, so I just want to focus on the victims. I'm glad they're able to get out, and I'm glad that they were able to kind of get the help that they need, both the mom and the daughter. If that was my kid, yeah, I would need the gun. Okay, I'll be the executioner, judge and executioner on that one, but I'm just so happy these people are behind bars and they're scum to the core. And if you are going through something similar or know someone going through something similar, please don't be afraid to reach out to your support system or go to your nearest police station and file a report. If you can't contact the station, please contact your gun, your revolver, your bazooka, your nearest nuclear launch code to deal with people like this. Story 3. So, a little background here. My father was in the army for 21 years and moved to a small town in Central Florida. He got bored after a couple of years, and even though we don't need the money between his retirement and what my mom was making as a bookkeeper slash tax prep, he wanted to go back to work. He started working at various gas stations, and it being a small town, the owners wouldn't care if I came there and helped him out with stocking the coolers or, running the register, as long as I didn't sell any beer or smokes. Okay, follow me. This all took late 80s and early 90s. The actual story I'm going to tell took place in 1990, and I remember the date very well because it was shortly after my birthday and being 15 in Florida. I had just gotten my learner's permit, and my dad would let me drive him to and from work just to get some experience on the road, both at day and at night. I was sitting in my usual spot at a table that was set up along the windows, book in hand, feet propped up, and a Mountain Dew on the table along with some snacks. I would generally spend most of the evening that way, reading books, getting up to a run, the register, stock, the cooler at different times. I remember glancing up because something caught my attention that was unusual, and I realized that a lady was walking up our parking lot from the direction of the interstate. The gas station was like right on I-75. This in itself was really strange because where we were located, you didn't get many people walking, and definitely not walking from the direction of the interstate. I figured she had broken down somewhere and was coming to use the phone to call for a tow truck or something. I was completely wrong. She came into the store, looked around for a few minutes, and I remember getting just a strange and creepy feeling about her. She walked up to the counter and started telling my dad a story about how she had gotten stranded and needed a ride up to the next big town up north from us. Ocala was the town. This is important. My dad lets her know that he's working and there is no way that he can take her. She turns and looks at me. And while she is looking away from him, my dad catches my eye and suddenly shakes his head no. It's confused for a second, but then she turns back to my dad and points at me, asking if I can take her. My dad responded back that I only had a learner's permit and wouldn't be able to drive her anywhere and then drive back. Normally, I would have done it, even though it was illegal, because I have done it a few times before already. I didn't argue with my dad since this was completely out of character for him. He was normally chatty with the customers, but for whatever reason, he was almost curt and dismissive of her. Turns out he had a bad vibe about her from the minute he had seen her walking up the drive. Well, she cusses him for a minute, and he basically tells her to get out of the store. She slammed the door open. I thought the glass was going to break from how hard she had slammed it. And then she stalks out of the store and down the driveway. I keep an eye on her and continue to watch as she makes her way back up to the interstate and then starts up the northbound on ramp. Almost a year passes and I'm in my bedroom, less than a week before my 16th birthday. I hear my dad yelling from the room, "Son, get your ass in here! Look at this!" I quickly run to the living room and see my dad pointing at the TV and look at the mugshot of the lady up on the screen. And I immediately remember the lady who had been in the store. Turns out I almost gave a car ride to Aline Warnos, who was later convicted of being a serial murderer and then later put to death. Still have nightmares about what could have happened. Okay, my opinion, guys, and for some context here, this guy met Aline Warnos, okay? In late 1989 and early 1990s, authorities in Florida began discovering all types of bodies of several men along highways. The victims were typically middle-aged men. They were found shot to death, often in remote or isolated areas. The nature of the murders and the similarities between the cases led enforcement to suspect a serial killer was at large. And the Florida Highway Patrol, along with law enforcement agencies, started investigating the murders. And there was a pattern, with the victims often last seen with the hitchhiking woman. Witnesses' descriptions and evidence from the crime scenes began to paint a clear picture of the suspect. She was eventually caught, though, and captured and arrested on January 9th, 1991, at the Last Resort, a Barker bar in Florida. Her arrest was part of a sting operation where undercover officers posed as customers to gain her trust and eventually apprehend her without incident. So, if OP and what he's saying is correct, wow, he met a crazy person and individual. And she kind of got caught because a major breakthrough in the case happened when they linked pawn items to the same woman, Warnos, and had been pawning items belonging to the victims, providing her fingerprints and identification each time. And this helped connect the dots. Guys, if you see something fishy out there, you have a weird gut feeling, don't do it. Leave. Trust your gut and don't trust anyone. No hitchhiker. Don't do anything like that. You never know when it's your last day on earth, and you never know how that's going to happen. Who can give it to you? Always be keen. Always be sure. Always be aware, and always have pepper spray or something on you. Throw hands. Go down. Be weary. Be cautious and be safe. Don't be sorry. Story 4. Knowing someone that committed such violent murders is mind boggling. Grandparents owned multiple businesses in our community for the past 50 years, so my family are considered locally famous. Anyway, a man from that community who growing up would regularly come to our bodega and buy beers and cigarettes was arrested for the murder of his 5-year-old daughter and attempted murder of his ex-wife. Yeah, the ex-wife divorced him because he was abusive towards her and also had recently remarried. Ex-husband goes to the house while her current husband was at work and proceeds to stab her with a butcher's knife for remarrying because he didn't want another man raising his daughter and her calling him dad. Ex-wife runs into the foyer of the apartment complex screaming for help while he's chasing her and stabbing her in the back. She collapses, curls herself into a ball, and eventually goes unconscious. The 5-year-old runs over and throws herself over the mom's body to protect her mom, and her father, allegedly in a blind rage, didn't realize he was stabbing the little girl. Stabbed his daughter over 20 times. Daughter ends up dying at the scene, and mom spends the next few months in the hospital fighting for her life. He pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. My personal opinion again, any type of abuse, any type of behaviors that you notice in people, please do not ignore them. Always keep your doors locked. Always have a safe plan for your kids in the event that something does go down. And always make sure everyone's armed in some way, pepper spray, knife, or whatever. And, please do not involve your kids into any domestic or any type of abuse that goes on in the household. Be better, be smarter, be wiser. And I'm glad this man is at least behind bars. And I know some people laugh at me when I say find your nearest nuclear code, but in these situations, you need to. Story 5. I came here to say my sister is the most evil person I've ever met, but this is worse. Still, my sister and that woman would have probably been buds. My sister smashed a wood chair over her son's head when he barely was 2 years old. The dad caught it on video, along with many other instances of physical abuse, abandonment, and neglect, and sis lost custody, thankfully. Unfortunately, her son, who is now about 5, has some severe development delays, still can hardly talk, and struggles with basic coordination and motor skills. And in this case, we all know why it happened. We're just happy he's safer now because there was a very big fear that she could have escalated the violence after the chair incident. Some people really have no business ever being parents. Personal opinion. Yeah. Child abuse is horrible. First 5 years are super important. Do not throw a chair or beat your kid or do something crazy like that. What you can do if you ever have those type of actions or that's something you displayed is get some wolfsbane outside at the flower shop, grind that up into a petri dish, get some water in it, swill it up with some OJ, and drink it. Okay, and just do everyone a favor. Okay, or just not have kids, or go to therapy. So, yeah, definitely do not chuck a kid or throw a kamikaze ha at anyone at that under the age of, I don't know, 18. Thank you and goodbye. And I do agree that that person, her sister, would have a lot of things in common with Aline Wuornos. And if you know someone nearby in your circle who is acting like a clown, make sure you give them a brochure to Circus LA so they can fill out a job application. Okay, guys, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the family if you want to. It's okay, up to you. Or just keep up with some updates and just have an amazing and blessed day and stay safe out there, guys. Bye.